Viewers here in the United States and around the world, I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room as we begin a very consequential week here in Washington, including the first impeachment trial of a former president of the United States, the first time in U.S. history. Just a short while ago, Senate leaders reached a deal on the rules for Donald Trump's second impeachment trial. It gets underway less than 24 hours from now. The Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, says each side will get 16 hours over 2 days to present their respective arguments. Meantime, the White House says President Biden won't pay much attention, if any attention at all, to the trial as he focuses on advancing his $1.9 trillion emergency COVID relief package. This week, key committees debate, amend, and rewrite the legislation, making critical decisions that could determine if all Democrats and any Republicans, for that matter, support it. First, let's get some more on this historic impeachment trial of Donald Trump and the new rules just agreed to in the U.S. Senate. Our chief domestic correspondent, Jim Acosta, is covering all of this for us. Jim, as you and all of our viewers know by now, the trial begins tomorrow. Based on these new rules, what can we expect?
That's right, Wolf. Senate Democrats and Republicans have reached a deal on the timeline of the trial. Under this agreement, the Senate will vote on the constitutional question of holding a trial while an ex-president is out of office. That's expected to pass. Then we will see 16 hours of arguments over 2 days from both sides, meaning this trial could continue until early next week before a vote on conviction or acquittal. While he's been out of office down here in Florida, former President Trump has been reaching out to allies and advisors, telling them he believes he will be acquitted at this trial because he does not believe there will be enough Republicans to vote to convict at the trial. Just a day away from the start of his second impeachment trial, former President Donald Trump is facing severe consequences if he's convicted, as he could be barred from ever again serving in the Oval Office. Senate Democrats say they have a deal for what's shaping up to be a trial that could last more than 1 week, with days of arguments from both sides in the case.
Only the fourth trial of a president or former president in American history, and the first trial for any public official that has been impeached twice.
Trump's defense team is arguing the former president is totally blameless for the bloody siege at the Capitol. In their latest filing before the impeachment trial begins Tuesday, his lawyers are blasting the proceeding as a selfish attempt by Democratic leadership in the House to prey upon the feelings of horror and confusion that fell upon all Americans across the entire political spectrum upon seeing the destruction at the Capitol on January 6th by a few hundred people. But former aides tell CNN a different story, that the then president was enjoying the spectacle, with one ex-White House official saying Trump was loving watching the Capitol mob. Arguing the evidence of Trump's conduct is overwhelming, House Democrats will seize on the former president's own words to make their case.
And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Trump's defense team argues his statements cannot and could not reasonably be interpreted as a call to immediate violence or a call for a violent overthrow of the United States government. But Democrats plan to point out Trump supporters appear to be following his commands as they unleash their assault.
Go home and go home in peace.
Noting how some in the mob seem to obey his call to go home.
Donald Trump asked everybody to go home. We won day.
Then there was the Trump tweet targeting Vice President Mike Pence, just as he was in danger at the Capitol. President Biden says Trump should speak up if he's innocent.
Look, we've got an offer to come and testify. He's decided not to. We'll let the Senate work that out.
Trump's lawyers insist it's unconstitutional to hold the trial after their client has left office. But some Republicans aren't buying it, as lawyer Charles Cooper, who represented former National Security Advisor John Bolton, wrote in the Wall Street Journal, Article 1, Section 3 authorizes the Senate to impose an optional punishment on conviction, disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. That punishment can be imposed only on former officers. One of the GOP House members who voted to impeach Trump, Liz Cheney, said it's time for her party to face some hard truths.
People have been lied to. The extent to which President Trump, for months leading up to January 6th, spread the notion that the election had been stolen or that the election was rigged was a lie, and people need to understand that.
Now, the president's lawyers say Trump and his legal team are pleased with the agreement for this timeline of the trial. His attorneys say they welcome, quote, the opportunity to explain to senators why it is absurd and unconstitutional, they say, to hold an impeachment trial against a private citizen. But there are plenty of legal scholars who argue Trump can be tried even out of office. As sources tell us, Trump has been fixated on punishing Republican lawmakers who voted to impeachment in the House, like Congressman Liz Cheney, who you just saw there. A Trump advisor said Trump sees his efforts as seeking, quote, accountability. Wolf.
Jim, I want you to stay with us. Don't go too far away. As the former president is about to face trial, the Biden White House is stressing that the current president has a lot of work to do. Let's go to our senior White House correspondent, Phil Mattingly. Phil, it's a big week for President Biden, and Trump's trial certainly has the potential to be a major distraction.
No question about it. But that big week for Team Biden is basically not paying any attention to that trial. Their focus right now zeroed in on one thing, and that is coronavirus relief, a recognition that the stakes are extraordinarily high on both the public health and economic front. And if they want to move, they need to move now, Wolf.
I don't expect that will be a primary focus for him this week or of his senior staff either.
On the eve of his predecessor's second impeachment trial,
The president himself would tell you that we keep him pretty busy, and he has a full schedule this week.
President Biden focused primarily on one thing, COVID relief.
We're encouraged that both Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Schumer are in full agreement about the need to move swiftly on the president's proposal, and the committee markups we'll see throughout the week are evidence of Congress acting on that expeditiously.
So come on in.
Today, Biden underscoring the need for federal assistance during a virtual tour of a vaccination site at an NFL stadium in Glendale, Arizona.
Help us vaccinate more people more quickly and to get ahead of this virus instead of behind it.
But with congressional Democrats moving forward this week without GOP support,
we have enormous crises, and we have got to pass that legislation as soon as we possibly can.
Razor-thin majorities in both chambers bringing in early test with the highest stakes. Biden already signaling a key progressive provision, $15 minimum wage, may not survive.
I put it in, but I don't think it's going to survive.
Biden citing Senate rules for the provision's demise, something Senate Budget Committee Chair Bernie Sanders is working to overcome.
We have a room full of lawyers working as hard as we can to make the case to the parliamentarian that, in fact, raising the minimum wage will have significant budget implications and, in fact, should be consistent with reconciliation rules.
And the White House still unclear on how to proceed on another looming intra-party battle, the targeting of stimulus checks.
It's still working its way through Congress, and I don't think a conclusion has been made yet on the exact level of targeting.
But key pieces are coming together, with Democrats introducing a central element of Biden's plan, an expansion of the child tax credit to $3,600 per child under the age of 6 and $3,000 per child ages 6 to 17. An emergency provision for 1 year Biden has pushed for since his campaign, all as Biden this weekend made clear he doesn't believe former President Trump should have any access to intelligence briefings.
Should former President Trump still receive intelligence briefings?
I think not.
But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki making clear that statement is not policy.
He was expressing his concern about former President Trump receiving access to sensitive intelligence, but he also has deep trust in his own intelligence team to make a determination about how to provide intelligence information if at any point the former president requests a briefing.
And as to the looming trial, well, Biden is not willing to bite.
Look, we've got an offer to come and testify. He's decided not to. We'll let the Senate work that out.
And Wolf is one official who is working with House Democrats on crafting the actual legislative language on that coronavirus relief proposal, told me earlier today. Now comes the hard part. Now comes turning the broad aspects of that $1.9 trillion proposal into actual legislative language. We just got a sense of one of those key outstanding issues just a few moments ago. The House Ways and Means Committee chairman releasing their proposal on those direct payments, not deciding to drop the threshold for those $1,400 stimulus checks, leaving it at $75,000, but but tightening the eligibility for it for higher income earners. The effort here is really to kind of draw some type of compromise between where more moderate Democrats were, wanting to drop it to about $50,000, and tighten that eligibility so as not to upset progressives. Again, a needle that they're going to have to thread throughout the course of the next several days as the actual legislative text becomes public and Democrats try and figure out how they can stay unified once this process gets to the House and Senate floors, Wolf.
All right, thanks very much, Phil Mattingly, with the latest.